I'm here with Nick Hammernik, who's the CEO of Hammernik and Associates, second generation tax and accounting firm that Nick's father Dale started. Nick is a Wisconsin fan of all sorts, except he's picked the wrong college team as a Marquette Golden Eagles fan instead of the Badgers. So we'll have to forgive you for that. And fun fact, Nick's firm has saved business owners $250,000 in taxes just in this tax season alone. So, morning, Nick.
Morning, how we doing, Mike?
Good. How are you?
It's Friday, so looking forward to the weekend and excited to be here to chat with you today.
Yeah, thanks for joining us. So let's jump right in. Tell us a little bit about your personal story. Where were you born? Where do you live? Where are you at now?
Grew up always in the Milwaukee area. Grew up in New Berlin. Stayed around for college. Went to Whitewater, and now currently living in Greenfield, which is where our business is located. So always been in the area. Kind of in the Waukesha County general vicinity there. The way that I got into the industry is kind of an interesting story. Obviously, as you mentioned, my dad started this business actually the year that I was born. So,
Really?
Almost 38 years ago. Aging myself there. But
and how old are you approximately?
Yeah, 38. So, you would think that growing up, the natural thinking would be, well, let's just go into the tax accounting field and take over the business. But in high school and so forth, I was always very intrigued with marketing and the creativity that's involved with that. So I did go to school at Whitewater for marketing and got my degree there. During that time, it was the period where getting a job out of school was very difficult if you didn't have connections or experience, and can't get experience if no one wants to give it to you. So I did a few jobs after college here and there in sales and marketing and so forth. But then it just got to the point where my dad and I decided that at least for short term, I would step into the business. Started out doing front desk work, so administrative work, answering phones, filing folders, so on and so forth.
Sure.
Eventually started doing tax preparation, which then led me to a secondary education of obtaining my enrolled agent license with the IRS, which is the highest designation that they give for a tax professional, and started actually learning and doing the tax side of things while still being able to now implement my marketing background to really increase the awareness of the business and what we're doing in that realm. And I think it's really molded me to be able to know all aspects of the business, because I've kind of been a part of every part of it along the way in every position.
When did you step into the CEO role? How did you and your dad, I guess, make the decision it was time for you to take over?
Yeah, so I would say it was kind of gradual over the past 3 years. It after I was working here for about 10 years, it kind of became apparent that that would be the next step, as long as that is what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
I will say at times there were different points in that period where it was a question. And that was mainly because uh, I had one vision of wanting to change certain aspects of the business from the way it had always been run, whereas he was used to doing what he was doing and so forth. So I think what it really took is me showing how what I wanted to do does work, and that kind of transitioned into that. So he's still here every day, still working in the business. No plans on immediate retirement, but allow me to kind of use the vision that I have to implement different things for moving forward.
Yeah, and good for him. Like, that's a hard step for businesses, a lot of them don't even make it through that transition because they get to the spot where they just can't speak each other's language
Right.
and can't get past that conflict.
Right.
So
Right.
it's pretty
We've
impressive.
always, yeah, we've always, been of the mindset that, work is work and not letting it affect our personal relationship too. So that's
Yeah.
always, been part of it.
So tell us a little bit more about Hammernik and Associates, target market, what you guys specialize in, who you're looking for.
Right. So over time of the business, our specialties have always been working with small business owners of all capacity, specifically in the Milwaukee County, Waukesha County area. That
Yep.
has obviously changed as far as a larger outreach during the years with technology and so forth. And then also individual tax prep during that time of year. Now, over the past 2 to 3 years, we have transitioned more into advisory services for business owners, specifically tax reduction planning. And the main reason we've done that is we've found that ultimately that is the most value that we can provide to a small business owner.
Can
It
can
is,
you can you sorry to interrupt you, but can you share a few examples like when people hear tax advisory, a lot of them glaze over because they just don't understand what it is. But you and I have had some conversation about this already, and just kind of share what types of outcomes there are, what types of things you're looking at, um, what that means to your customers.
sure. So yeah, the terminology of tax planning or tax advisory can be construed in multiple different ways.
Hmm.
On the surface and in a standard accounting firm or an accounting firm of the past, it typically means we're going to project out what your estimated tax is throughout the year. We're going to advise you at the end of the year to defer some money to the next year or increase expenses in the current year by
Yep.
buying a piece of equipment for your business or buying a truck to do so.
Or
Um,
investing in coaching, which makes them more money.
Correct. Uh, but yeah, you want it to make sure it does make you more money.
Right.
But there are businesses out there that just buy things to buy things, even though they
Yep.
don't really need it.
Yep.
And at the end of the day, if you're spending $10,000 on a piece of equipment, you're only saving $3,000 in tax on that, so you're still coming out of pocket with something. When we do in-depth tax planning, we do a full discovery process to see what the client's current situation is, not only from what the tax returns tell us, the P&Ls tell us, the balance sheets tell us, but also what their personal goals are financially, how long they want to run the business for, do they have an exit plan, are they expecting growth? And we take that all into consideration to mold a tax plan that's best for them. So we're looking at entity structure. Is
Yeah.
the entity set up the right way, not only for paying the least amount of taxes, but also for their current cash flow needs? Because there's different aspects of how you can be set up and how that affects that aspect of it. And then we're looking at some high level tax strategies that some of them are specific to certain industries, some of them are specific to certain tax rates and tax brackets. And then some of them are, how can we move and shift income from one entity to another to ultimately reduce that overall tax that you're paying? And that strategy might change year to year based off of internal factors of that business, based off
Hmm.
of external factors if new tax laws come into place.
Right.
So the cool thing about tax planning is just because we set something up one way, that doesn't mean it needs to stay that way. So throughout the year, we're always analyzing what we have in place, what's going on in that business owner's life that may need to change that, and always looking for opportunities throughout the way before January 1st hits and it's too late to actually change the way that that tax return is ultimately going to look like.
Yeah. I mean, two things that I would say people should pay attention to. One is you're looking at it from overall cash management and aware of that. You're the first CPA. I don't know if it's great for you or sad for your industry, that's ever said, yeah, you're going to save $3,000 in taxes, but you're still going to be out of pocket. And, one of our beliefs is, you can't use your truck to buy groceries.
Right.
So if you're not thinking about cash flow, even though, yeah, you're going to pay taxes, uh, I mean, the only way in the world to not pay taxes is to lose money or not ever make money. So they're a reality, but you have the cash left over if you keep it. And when you guys think about year to year tax planning and are you investing in growth this year? Are you going to make money on the truck? Most accountants just stop with the, hey, I can save you $3,000 in taxes. And
Right.
they never say the other side of, you just got to spend $78,000 to buy a new pickup truck that you might not need, right? Well, the
Yeah.
truck ain't going to keep you warm if
Yeah.
you run out of cash for payroll next year.
Right. Yeah. There's definitely a correlation there because the main reason that we are putting together a tax reduction strategy for a business owner is in order to uh, infiltrate cash into their business that would have typically been going to the IRS of the state. But if we negate a portion of that by the money that they need to come out of pocket and don't get me wrong, there are situations where um, buying stuff is needed if it's going to
Absolutely.
produce more profit for
Absolutely.
you. But
Yep.
I've seen situations before where people are just buying new things just to buy them and
Yeah.
to get a tax impact. And also too, if you're not in one of the higher tax brackets, the savings on that's minimal. If you're in a 12% tax bracket, you're only
Right.
saving
Right.
12 cents on the dollar. It's not really doing too much for you. So that's also where things come into play where we can have more impact. Obviously, the more money you make, the higher taxes you're paying, but that does allow a higher tax savings because now potentially you're paying 40% on your income. Well, that means that everything that we are able to implement is now saving you
Right.
taxes at that rate too.
Yeah. I think it's important for you guys that are listening to deal with this statement that I'm about to make, which is your starter accountant might not be your accountant forever, right? If you're not having conversations like Nick just said, as you get bigger, your impact is going to be different, and
Right.
you should be thinking about different things. You should have different advice coming from your CPA. The worst thing I saw was a guy rolled up in a literally a $80,000 pickup truck. And I'm like, your truck was 1 year old. Oh yeah, my accountant said I could save money on taxes. I'm like, well, you
Yeah.
lost on both ends of that deal. So
Right.
tell me about where did somebody push you and say, hey, you can be the CEO. Like, how did you make that decision? Was there a day when you woke up and said, I've been talking about this. Now you said it's kind of transitioned over the last 3 years, but who did you talk to or who did you meet or what decision did you make where you realized I am going to be in charge and it's going to be great?
I wouldn't say there is a specific point or in time that I would be able to pinpoint for that. Um, I've always grown up as far as I when I was in college, I coached high school baseball, so kind of was able to develop the skills of leadership and running something on your
Hmm.
own per se. Um, and then a lot of it is just always learning and reading books and taking advice from different people of where they failed in areas that they were able to improve in and things to take into account. But yeah, it's always just been conversations with my dad as far as making sure that it is what I wanted to do, and then starting to experience what that would look like, and
Hmm.
then picking and choosing what aspects of being the CEO of a business do I want to do and what do I not want to do? Because that's probably the biggest lesson that I've learned is you can't do everything. You need to
Right.
be able to delegate things. Otherwise, if you have too many responsibilities, you're not able to put your full 100% effort into everything, which means that you're doing an average job at a bunch of different things. Where if you're able to refine specifically what you're responsible for, you're able to put 100% effort into those areas and produce to the best of your ability. So
Yeah. What's the biggest challenge you've seen so far or have had so far as in your career?
Yeah, so I would say it's definitely specific to our industry. So right now, the volume of need is very high,
Mhm.
specifically when we're talking about individual taxes. Um, in general, the industry is an older industry, so a lot of accounting firm owners have either retired and no one took over their business, or they sold their business to one of the larger firms and so forth. So there's a big need there, and from our aspect, we need to make sure that we are able to control the workload that we're doing to be able to provide and put the time necessary needed into providing the service that we want to provide. And then on the flip side of it, and this is across a lot of industries, but it's being able to find people to do the work for you. Finding
Yeah.
CPAs and enrolled agents that want to be in this type of work. Out of college, most people that go to school for accounting typically go right into audit work with some of the bigger firms, so they don't experience kind of the public accounting side, the tax planning side, things of that nature. So it's almost a secondary education with the tax planning, which is why a lot of accounting firms don't even bother looking into it, because it does require time, resources, education to learn how to do these things. It's not something that you learn by going to college or being in the industry for a while, unless you take the time needed to go out and learn how to do it. So that's been, kind of, just like most industries, we hear the same thing from a lot of business owners that we work with, trying to find the right people to, work with them to get things done. But yeah, the industry is changing. It's just who wants to change with it, or who wants to just continue doing what
Right.
they're doing, keep doing compliance work. Compliance work is important. You want to make sure that things are filed accurately on time, so that business owners, tax clients don't get penalized. But once again, when we're doing compliance work, all we're doing is reporting what had already happened throughout the year. Whereas when we're dealing with advisory services, we're able to proactively write what that story is going to look like at the end of the year, so the client is aware of what's happening throughout that relationship.
Yeah. I think the people thing and people growth is one of the most interesting things that we come across because um, the industries that like every industry is going to face it no matter what. And the
Right.
people that are winning the talent game are winning the culture game. And
Right.
so um, the who do you want to work for you? What are the behaviors? How consistent are you in applying that? Our company's choosing their culture. Um, we tell our clients you get exactly who you deserve. So I've
Mhm.
heard a bunch of people tell me how hard it is to hire people, but then they're also telling me how they're screaming at people on the job site and people are useless and lazy. And I mean, if that's what their belief is, then that's what's going to happen. So somebody's always winning the talent game.
Right. I agree.
So what's the next big thing for Hammernik and Associates? Next 1 to 3 years, what's your vision for what you're turning into? Growth development challenge.
Yeah,
What's on the
so
horizon for you?
we're really going all in on the advisory service side of things. So ultimately, our main focus has always been small businesses, and I believe that small businesses are very important to the community. We are a small business ourselves, so I understand what business owners are going for and what they're looking for.
Mhm.
And I mean, for the most part, if someone is a small business owner, they are trying to live out their dream of, this is the industry that I want to do. I want to be my own boss. And so we want to help them make that work and help them reach their goals. And the way that we're able to do that is provide value to them to become successful in what they're looking to achieve. So the tax planning advisory services, financial consulting services, so we're looking at different trends, cash flow analysis, things that might affect their profitability. Then we're looking at how can we filter cash into a business. We have a alternative business loan and lending program when banks aren't able to get approved by banks, which is really hard to do. They want to see specific things, specific industries, and so forth,
Right.
to have cash flow to invest in more marketing, invest in new employees, invest in equipment, and so forth. That is going to, at the end of the day, increase their profitability. So we're looking to, refine and continue to invest our time and resources to doing everything that we can do to make sure that a business owner is able to achieve the goals that they're setting out at the end of the day in all aspects.
Yeah. I mean, we're directly aligned on that. Our belief is only small businesses care about the communities that they live in. And, I want my family to have a thriving place to live. So if we're not investing in and working with small businesses, then, I was on the other side as a big business member, and we closed factories all the time in little towns. So
Right.
one last question for you. And that question is not on the list. It is, what do you wish I would have asked you that I didn't ask you?
Oof. That's a good question. Let's see.
I mean, if I did a perfect job, that's okay too.
No, just caught me off guard a little bit. Actually, I'm gonna. This is actually a question that you had emailed, but we didn't touch on it. I think it's a good one. Advice to leaders that are trying to do it on their own.
Yep.
And I kind of touched on this earlier when I talked about trying to wear too many different hats at the same time. But the biggest thing that I have learned, not only in this industry, but just in life in general, is that sometimes you need to value your time more. So I think we talked about this when we had lunch the other day, but sometimes it's better off to find someone that is an expert in an area to do something and maybe pay them to do it rather than spend your time trying to figure it out, because your time can be better used elsewhere for doing things that you're good at. So
Right.
delegating things internally to people that have more experience in a certain area or are able to be trained in a certain area, or outsourcing things that someone on the outside has a better idea of how to do that. Because especially in our industry, our biggest valuable thing is our time, because that's
Right.
what we're investing in our services. So we need to make sure that our time is being utilized to the best of its ability. So it's never a bad thing to ask for help, or to say, I need to let go of control of this area because it's affecting what I'm doing over here. So that would be my biggest advice to small business owners or leaders in general, especially when you're first starting out as a small business owner. You do feel like you have to do every aspect of the business. So not only are you typically producing the service that your business is providing, you're also responsible for marketing and sales. You're
Right.
responsible for keeping track of finances. You're responsible for customer service. You're responsible for overseeing
That's
employees if you
great.
have employees.
Yep.
So you're almost taking on the job that should be for 5 or 6 people, and it can become very draining and stressful to do it. And getting back to my original point, it doesn't allow you to thrive and succeed to the best of the ability for what you're actually good at. So you need to determine, if you are a leader or a small business owner, what specifically do I enjoy doing the most? What specifically do I believe I'm the best at? And invest all of your time and resources into being the best version of that aspect that you can be, and then
Right.
find other ways to have the other aspects that need to be accomplished done in a different way.
Yeah. I don't remember what book I was reading, but the story they told was, it's, if you're the small business owner wearing all the hats, it's like you're going to go out and play soccer against a soccer team by yourself. You're getting your
Yeah,
ass
yeah.
kicked. You don't even know how bad you're getting your ass kicked, and you think it's a
Right,
good idea to play that
right,
way. So,
right.
all
And,
right,
and, and our,
awesome.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
and in most businesses and in our industry, that's how it's always worked. And I think it's kind of been a newer mindset that says, hey, you don't have to be good at everything to run a successful business. And you know, most people, you're not able to do that. So
Right.
if you need to take a step back in certain areas and find someone else that's better at it, and once again, you have to sit down and write down, especially if you are planning on being in that business for a while, what do I want to be doing for that long, that I enjoy doing, that I
Yep.
know I can be good at, and that's not going to, cause me feelings and stress that doesn't want me to be doing this. And write those things down and focus on those areas that you want to be doing. And then those other areas, you got to figure out a way or find someone else that can help you succeed in those areas. So,
Yeah. The thing that seems to terrify the most is the first thing that you should outsource is managing your email and your calendar. And, a lot of senior business people who are still stuck in writing their own emails and say things like, oh, I got to get back to everybody in, within 10 minutes or all this stuff.
right.
Well, now they're living in the mailroom of their company, so to speak, that's just staring at a computer
Right.
and they've lost all the fun part,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
you said, the ones that make them the most money.
Yeah. I've over the past couple of years, I've put into place uh, 2, sometimes 3 times per day where I check my email, and that's it. If you're stuck in your email all day, replying to everything right away, you're reducing your productivity because you're interrupting what you're doing at that point and aren't
Right.
able to focus on that. But you're also setting a standard to whoever you're replying to, that they're going to expect you to reply every time they need you
That's right.
in a couple minutes too. Whereas that's not always going to be possible.
Yeah.
Nor should it be too. So it's important to set expectations and boundaries to make sure that you are able to be the best version of how you want to work.
Yeah. My goal is to never open email again. I'm going to have a VA to tell me if there's something that I actually need to do, but for
Yeah,
family and private and clients, they all have my cell phone number and text me.
right.
And we were talking about guarantees last weekend, and I'm like, hey, here's my guarantee to you. Text me if you have a problem, and I'll get back to you immediately by the end of the day. Unless I think you can solve it yourself, and I'm just going to ignore you. And they're like what? I'm like, hey, man, my job is to help you be successful, not to freaking do your push-ups for you. So
Well, you're transparent about it.
yeah,
You told them what's going to happen, so
that's
they
right.
can't be mad about it.
Plus, it helps them grow their own confidence that I believe absolutely they can get this thing done, and they don't need somebody to help them with it. So.
Right.
All right, Nick, I appreciate your time. Nick Hammernik of Hammernik and Associates. If you're looking for, if you're unhappy with your CPA, which seems to be endemic, definitely worth a call to connect with Nick and see if they can help you out. Have a great weekend and go Badgers.
All
All
right,
right,
Mike.
Nick,
Thanks
take
for your
care.
time today. Appreciated it.
Yep.